Hello, this is Ms. Jacques from Clifton, and welcome back to school. A happy new school year. Well, interesting times to say the least. 2020 has been rough. It seemed to start out all right, and then it dropped out from underneath us. If you take a look at that meme, I thought of my students when I saw that. The following couple of slides will be grade-specific information that will be covered real quick. 7th grade is shown with the picture of the frog and the Komodo dragon. 8th grade is shown with the picture of the bearded dragon. If your child has a Google Classroom with this picture of the frog, that means they're in 7th grade, and we meet live on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Zoom. If your child has the picture of the Komodo dragon in their Google Classroom, they are also a 7th grader, but we meet live in Zoom on Wednesdays and Fridays. Our 7th grade NGSS science curriculum will cover things from physical science, earth and space sciences, and life science. We will be covering matter and its interactions, earth systems, earth and human activity. We will also be looking at from molecules to organisms, discussing structures and processes, and we will be covering ecosystems and their interactions with energy and dynamics. Now, engineering is a part of NGSS in every grade level. Our science and engineering practices are what you might have known as the scientific method. This has been updated to include more information about engineering as well. Cross-cutting concepts are things that occur on a regular basis throughout all of the grade levels, like looking for cause and effect and finding patterns and things like that. If your child's Google Classroom has a picture of a bearded dragon, they're in 8th grade, and we meet live on Wednesdays and Fridays. The 8th grade science curriculum for NGSS also covers physical, earth and space sciences, and life science. We will be discussing motion and stability, energy and waves. We will cover information about Earth's place in the universe, Earth and human activities, and heredity and biological evolution. Once again, the engineering is a part of every grade level, and our science and engineering practices are similar to the scientific method. Our cross-cutting concepts are reoccurring themes that go throughout all 3 grade levels. Now, everything to follow applies to all students, all of my students. We covered how distance learning is different this year than the very end of last year. Deadlines and due dates are much more important, and the quality of work will matter more than completion. Communication with your teachers and your classmates is much more important now, and live Zoom meeting class participation is more vital to being successful. This is where attendance will count for each class. Something that's very different is the invisible audience. By working from home and being online, we are sharing our classroom with other adults and young kids. Even though they might be out of sight and out of mind, I remind my students at the beginning of every live meeting about our invisible audience and about our norms. Here is a copy of our virtual classroom meeting norms. All of these things are important and will help our Zoom meetings be more successful. I'd like you to help pay attention to the middle one specifically by talking this over with your child at home. We never take a picture or record anyone without permission. Doing so is disrespectful and not courteous and does not match with Clifton's reach for excellence. We want to show respect. We want to have empathy and compassion for people that like to keep things more private. So please have that conversation with your children at home. Now, what happens when things aren't going right or people might not be making the correct choices in Zoom? At the beginning of every class, I'll talk about our invisible audience, and I will remind them of their norms, and then we're going to play baseball. Strike 1 will be a warning. Strike 2 will have their Zoom access temporarily limited. I may turn their sound off. I may change the chat features. But if they continue to struggle or disrupt the learning environment, strike 3, they're out of here. What is that going to look like in Zoom? they will be temporarily removed from the Zoom meeting. I will give them about 5 to 10 minutes to rejoin the waiting room. After about 5 or 10 minutes, they should have had a chance to reset their manners and be ready for successful learning with their classmates. Now, if a student disappears, never comes back to class, or comes back to class and continues to disrupt what we are trying to do as a group to learn, then I will most likely fill out paperwork with Clifton to include other adults in the problem solving with this child. Now, normally, I like to do everything I can to give my students an opportunity to make choices and to improve their choices before having to get an adult involved right away. Our behavior expectations are very similar to the green and yellow charts you might have seen on Clifton campus. We have very specific ways that people can show respect, be responsible, and be safe. And in Ms. Jacques' class, these are the specifics of how you can do that. You may go ahead and pause this video at any time to look more carefully and closely. Now, how does attendance and credit for work happen? Well, during Zoom, students need to rename themselves with their first and last names so it matches with the school roster, so attendance can be accurate. Same thing is true in Nearpod participation. They have to put their name in correctly. Take the time to do it for accurate credit. Now let's talk about if people are absent. If you're absent, you can still review the materials that are posted in your Google Classroom for that day, even if you missed our live session. Be sure to check your assignments tab and see what is due, and you still may meet the deadlines. Now, if you are absent, then you can attach a private message to the assignment in Google Classroom about the absence so that the postmark and there are not points deducted for the Google Past Due timestamp. What supplies do students need? Pretty much anything that will work professionally for them. A variety of simple school supplies. A calendar, lined paper, things to write with, things that have color, a place to keep everything together neatly and separate from other subjects. If the materials are organized and they get the job done professionally, then students have the flexibility to choose a variety of materials that will meet those needs best. And people that struggle with organization can set aside some time with me to talk about suggestions. Given that we're in digital learning now, I have some technology suggestions as well. You're going to want a computer device that can connect to Wi-Fi. Some of these are available through the school. You also may like your student to have a stylus if they're working with the touchscreen. A microfiber cloth can help since they will be touching their touchscreens a lot more. And sometimes headphones with a microphone can help them concentrate or focus when there's a lot of other things going on in the household. Most commonly online, you are going to see students logging into their Student Aries account, logging into their Google Classroom. They should also be checking their Gmail, and they'll be using Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and Google Forms, as well as Nearpod for lessons, going to Gizmos for math and science simulations, and every once in a while going to Newsela, or Newsella as I like to call it. You may see those on the screen from time to time. Here are my recommendations for how students will be most successful using these resources. Students, Google Classroom is absolutely central and essential to almost everything we're going to be doing, especially digitally. Zoom is where we go for our live class meetings. The links will be in your Google Classroom. If those things are down, we will have an alternative Google Meet link posted in Google Classroom. They want to use their Aries portal so they can check their grades and check their attendance at any time. My email address is available in many of these platforms. They're going to want to be familiar with how to log in to Nearpod for our interactive lessons and how to log in to Gizmos eventually for our science simulations. Now, as a parent or a guardian, you can best support your children by using the following. Having your MUSD Aries parent portal, so you can look at attendance and grade information anytime. Staying connected to Parent Square. Our district is using this as a central location to put information for parents, and you have a way to easily contact your teachers through Parent Square. Google Classroom has an option for guardians to be invited to receive emails. You can be invited by any of your child's teachers. When you receive a message that shows up in Google Classroom or in an email, you will select if you would like daily or weekly work summaries. When those emails show up, they will show all of your child's Google Classrooms in one place, giving you information for all of their periods. Again, my contact information is there, my phone number at the school, and my classroom as well. Grades are slightly different temporarily for the situation. Our science department grading category weights have 4 categories. Assessments will be worth 25%. Labs and activities will also be worth 25%. Classwork and homework will be worth slightly more at 30%, and participation will count for 20%. Really good news, and this is not true every year, is everyone this year starts the year with an A. If you don't believe me, then check in Aries. Everyone has full credit for participation and will continue to receive full credit unless they have participation issues in Zoom and other things we may use. These are the Jacques Science Safety Rules. There are 10 of them. They are simple and straightforward. Students that cannot or will not follow these safety rules will be given an alternative assignment. This will not negatively impact their grade. They can still receive full credit. However, if they cop a bad attitude when they are asked to do the alternative assignment and they do not finish it nor turn it in or continue to cause trouble, they will then lose credit by not completing the alternative assignment. Go ahead and pause the screen and look through them if you like. Students are also taking a quiz on this. I want to say thank you very much for attending my electronic back to school night. I appreciate the time you spend with your children and investing in their future, and I am here to support everything about that, and thank you very much.